The injustice against Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders is historical and ongoing. During the 60s in Victoria, working out of the Aborigines Advancement League, Sir Pastor Doug Nicholls, Uncle Stuart Murray and Uncle Bruce McGuinness and others organised help for local Koories who had been arrested. They supported Koories in court appearances, organising bail as well as lawyers who would volunteer to represent Koories, some who may have been charged with crimes they didn't commit. Although it wasn't their jobs, it was their dedication to the Aboriginal community and seeing the need for legal help that makes them the first real unsung heroes of the Victorian Aboriginal Legal Service. The Victorian Aboriginal Legal Service, or VALS, started from the Black Power movement in Redfern, New South Wales and Fitzroy, Victoria, with the need for Koori-specific legal services to combat racist policing. In Redfern and its surrounding areas during the late 60s and early 70s, blatant discrimination by police was common, arresting Aboriginal people without cause and enforcing a 10 p.m. curfew. Meaning, if you were an Aboriginal person walking the streets after 10 p.m, you were locked up. The Fitzroy Aboriginal community was also experiencing similar activities by police, who would raid pubs frequented by Koories in what the community called Black Mariahs, a nickname for police paddy wagons, and they would arrest Koories even if they were just drinking a lemon squash in the pub. Anger and frustration caused Aboriginal people to protest against this treatment in Sydney and Melbourne. This eventually led to the first Aboriginal Legal Service, or ALS, being formed in Redfern. And by 1972, the newly elected Whitlam government promised to fund Aboriginal legal services in other states to support marginalised and disadvantaged Aboriginals, allowing them proper representation in court. This period also marks the beginning of the establishment of free community legal services in Australia. The fight against injustice continued, and in 1973 the Victorian Aboriginal Legal Service was born, with the first VALS office situated in Gertrude Street, Fitzroy. The dedication of Aboriginal leaders and members such as Stuart Murray, Bruce McGuinness, Jim Berg and Molly Dyer were the driving force behind VAL's beginnings, and with the help from Ron Caston, Ron Merkel and Gareth Evans, who volunteered their time with legal assistance. This was the start of 40 years of a statewide Aboriginal-controlled legal and justice service. VALS has changed a lot over the years. At the beginning we were fighting to be recognised and fighting for basic human rights. These days, we sit in partnership on government committees and advocate for our mob at local, state and national levels. But we never forgot who we are, where we came from and what our job is. An Aboriginal board and management still make the decisions and keep the focus on community needs like it has been for many years under the guidance of Aboriginal leaders and respected community people such as the late Alf Bamblett, Auntie Bunta Patton, Frank Guevara, Des Morgan, Denise Lovett, the late Terry Hood, the late Robert Jumbo Pearce, Ray Armatt, Deidre King and Terry Stewart were among other prominent community members across the state who gave so much of their time to be on the VALS board. VALS Community Programs has now over 20 Aboriginal workers servicing the community on the ground and 20 lawyers who are VAL's not-so-secret weapon in the war against injustice and who go to courts across the state to represent Aboriginal clients in criminal, family and civil matters. Along the journey, there have been socially justice-minded non-Aboriginal people who worked hard and put their heart and soul into making a difference for our mob, such as the late Ron Caston, Ron Merkel, Gareth Evans, Ian Gray, Kate Orty, David Parsons and Jeff Eames, and many of those who started their careers with us and went on to do great things. So we respect and appreciate that they never forgot where they started their careers.
If I look back on the most stimulating and exciting things I've done in the law, I'll always veer back in almost every instance to something that involved Aboriginal communities.
Everybody took their problems to the legal service, and then when the health service came, I mean, that was a buzz around that corner.
We were in the office having a board meeting and an IRA client came in wielding an axe. Rather than directing his anger at at Starkland was he chased one of the board members around the table.
And so I'm hoping that they went out there and told the story of some of our mob and how hard it is for them to go and live in towns where racism, there's no jobs because of it, and all the rest of it, and they got to, live and work with it. And so, a little way I think that they also too contributed to reducing some of the systemic racism around within the justice system.
Anyway, I worked there and I seen heroes. I always seen lots of Aboriginal heroes, and uncles and aunties and mum and people who'd done amazing things. But all of a sudden I've seen these people that were building organisations and building a movement and saving lives. And I was part of it. I was part of these heroes. And as time went on, I realised more and more that we walked in the footsteps of 1,500 generations of people who had done incredible things. And I remember the change in me happening about how I viewed myself and about my ability to contribute. I mean, this was a time when you couldn't dream of being a lawyer or a doctor. It was a remote dream. The legal service was my launching pad into a whole new life and a whole new awareness of not only who I was, but who I am now, and it was an indication of who I was going to become.
We will never forget our wonderful people whose lives revolved around VALS and justice for Kooris, but have sadly passed on from this life. But their years of tireless work and dedication lives on in VALS history.
We strive for a voice, we strive for a place, and we strive to make sure that in fact, we are fully participant in what's happening, rather than just being in the receiving end of someone else's largesse or someone else's idea about how it should be done for us, to us and with us. I think our basic human rights demand that. A role that the legal service has played and will play in ensuring that we continue in that direction. Because I used to tell them all the time, and I still tell them, that in fact you are not here for your good looks. You're here because there is a need in the Aboriginal community. That's why you're employed. Other people see things differently. Other people's come out of a different history and come out of a different place. And so there's a need to have other peoples involved in the things we do. It doesn't mean that other people should be setting the direction or taking the lead in the things that we should be doing. Because it's our responsibility in the first instance. But there is a need and there is a role for other people to be involved and do the support thing.
It's the best job I've ever had. I've had a lot of jobs and it's the best job because you're working for your community. I can remember Rob Hulls, the magistrate, Mick Coughlin, really pushing me to become the Koori Court officer in the Koori Court in Warrnambool. And I said, I don't want to see people on the other side of the counter. I'd rather be there with them.
The Victorian Aboriginal Legal Service is a proud Aboriginal organisation and has been for over 40 years, and VALS will continue to protect against injustice and defend the rights of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples.